Hello, 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 everyone. It's Saturday morning. Couldn't sleep. Wanted to do something, so figured I would come down, finish off what I had was working on yesterday. I still have a few more to make. And somebody else suggested, nobody else crafts in the middle of the night, but I noticed that Mary is on, and I don't mean to disrespect her, but she definitely has a following. People are going to be over there. If anybody shows up here, bonus. I'm doing it more for my own peace of mind. Um, Currently in southeastern Manitoba, it is minus 19 Celsius with a wind chill factor of minus 28. And in Fahrenheit, that is minus 2 Fahrenheit with a minus 18 wind chill factor. So yesterday was day 3 of the 100-day challenge. My desk is still covered in that paraphernalia. And what I was doing was little envelope accordion packs. So I've got the envelopes glued together, folded, glued together, cut, ready to go. I have the paper cut for wrapping them, and I have my bits for putting on buttons. I just have to make some strings, but it depends on what color paper. So I'm just going to go ahead and ramble and craft. And if anybody is there and wants to grab a cup of tea and visit, that's great. If not, I'm just going to continue on my merry way here and decide how I'd like to do this. So this print that I'm using, I'm determining which side I want as the flap. If I put this leaf at the top to use as a flap, I'll be folding it in half to make the paper stronger and a little bit more durable. So I think I'm going to have the leaf at this end so it's much more visible. All right. So that's what I'm going to do. I have my glue stick nemesis here. I should probably get a paper to glue on. Let me just grab a magazine page or something here. How about this old calendar page? It's obviously an ice rink. It's a 2019 calendar page. I'm not going to be using that. I might have cut out the numbers. I could still do that, whatever's left after I've glued. So I celebrated my 100 subscribers yesterday. This glue stick is done. Cap. I'm not going to start scraping it out because I don't have anything. I've got lots of things here to use, but I don't have the patience at 4:30 in the morning. I am drinking a nice cup of tea, a nice big cup of mint tea. I figured maybe that would help me sleep. I don't think that's going to happen. So often I wake up at 4 in the morning and I'm up for the day. And so I sit and I play video games. But because I'm doing the 100-day challenge, I decided to come and craft because my day 3 is still on the desk and I have to do something for day 4. The way I do the 100-day challenge is I do something different every day. When I build up my stash, I'll do ATCs or inchies or twinchies or whatever. And that's how my stash gets built. I do craft all year round, obviously, but the 100-day challenge is just that for me. I try and find 100 different things that I can play with throughout the challenge. So this is a little bit crooked. And it doesn't really want to slide over very much. Let's see if I can just get that a little bit over better. I did cut the pages a little bit bigger than my original when I first did that yesterday. I forgot that sometimes, even though we buy these boxes of envelopes, they're supposed to be the same. Sometimes there's just a little bit of a discrepancy in the size, and I don't know why. Okay, so I've got that side glued. This side. I'm going to get them all glued and then decide on how I want to close them. I do a variety of different ways of closing. I use buttons. I've done paper buttons. Definitely everything needs a string to wrap it with. So then what I'll do is I will fold this and leave just a hint of the page down so that when it's folded, this is a little bit stronger. This will be glued down, and then it will have a nice flap like that. If I've had really long paper, I have made points, but this is fine. So I will decide on what I'm closing that with in a moment. I'm going to get them all glued. I've got 2 more to go. So today is supposed to be the start of a warm-up here in southeastern Manitoba. We're supposed to get into the negative single digits this coming week. Everybody here is obviously really looking forward to that. Not that we've had a bad winter, but we all know that when we start getting weather like that, spring can't be too far. Although we do have snow in May occasionally. We're all kind of hoping it's not going to be that way this year. So this is just a piece of painty paper that I did. I was just kind of swishing leftover paint around, and then I did some lines with black. This other one was a gel print using leaves from my yard. I use various decorative papers. Of course, you don't need to use gel prints or painty papers. You could use wrapping paper, although with wrapping paper, in a lot of cases, I find it very, very thin, that it needs some sort of a backing. I've also used tissue paper if it's been backed by a solid paper. And again, I'm just going to fold this. It's got a bit of a crunky edge, but that's okay, because once it's glued down, it will be just fine. And again, I am just leaving just a little bit so that it will fold nicer. That's 2. This one also is a gel print. It's on quite a thin piece of paper. It's actually my granddaughter's math work. She moved out of province, and the desk came from this house. So we took the desk back, and all her old paperwork was in there. So I figured I would use it for gel printing, because why just throw it out? That's the idea, right? Is if you're trying to be great for the environment, why throw all this paper and stuff out? That's where junk journals started. My pet peeve is the glue sticks and how many you go through. Because if I don't want to put paper in the landfill, why would I want to put plastic? But since everybody likes glue sticks, and I don't have a nice dispenser for wet liquid glue, which I actually prefer and I use for everything, I just have this one little container left. It's a clear glue. It's really, really sticky. It's an Elmer's Craft Bond. I did have ones like this white glue top of the bottle. They are was so coated in glue. I had them for years and years and years that when I tried to unglue it, it broke the neck off. So I have to head to the city and get some more glue containers. But back to my glue stick nemesis. I appreciate the fact that it goes on reasonably dry. I appreciate the fact that it's great for doing tissue papers and those thinner papers. I do not appreciate the fact that I've got all these left. I do have to scrape the glue out of those. I'll do that off camera and then just use it for other projects. What I'm going to try to do is fill them up with melted crayon, and that way I'll have a really nice big surface for if I'm doing a rubbing for texture. So I'm not going to just throw them out. I'm going to definitely try and find another use for them. All right. So I've got them all in their wraps. Now I just have to decide what I would like to use on closure. As I say, I have used bits of Velcro in there. I might do one with Velcro just for the heck of it. Work. I've used actually a different one of these flowers. I backed it with a couple of pieces of paper and put a brad through it and did the tie. But I'm thinking that these two I could use, actually these three could either be masculine or feminine. So I don't necessarily want to use flowers. I've got all these cute buttons. I might use a button, but let's just start with this one and do Velcro. So even though this paper is folded in half and it's got that little bit of stability, I am going to take a small piece of paint chip. I have lots and lots of paint chip. Let me just grab another one from down here. So, I've got a piece of, that's a little small, paint chip. So I'm just going to cut a piece smaller than the page itself, just for a little bit of stability. And because I want this row of numbers, because I've been doing decorative tickets and I'm always looking for little bits of numbers, I am going to put that and hoard it, of course. And this is still a little big. I'm not measuring. Nope, I don't do that. And I will round the corners. That way there's no pokey corners to poke through the thin paper should it come unglued. Just round this a little bit more. Just regular scissors, and I've got a bazillion paint chips to use. So that's what I'm using. Maybe that'll be a scraper. Maybe I'll turn it into a very small stencil. We'll see. Back to this glue stick. So I'm going to put glue down on here. Put down the paint chip. Give it a good press. Glue down on this side, making sure I cover the whole side so that the glue stick will be covering everything. And I'm going to fold that down and press it down. using my good old hand tool, right? So that gives it a little bit of stability. Yeah, the edges are a little wobbly, but I like the stability because that's where the closure is going to be. Okay. Oh, look. This came unglued. Don't know why. Thought I had the corners. Guess not. The one thing you have to be a little bit cautious about when doing this is that you don't get glue on the openings of the envelopes. And as I said in my last video, in the past, in my infinite wisdom, I took a circle punch to punch nice little pocket divots so that you could grab things easier. But that's where the glue is when you glue the envelopes together. So mine then became quite unsturdy, and some of them where I punched, they had no glue left whatsoever. So I'm not going to do that again. I learned my lesson. So I have these little bits, of Velcro, and they're sticky, and I had a whole roll of it, and it came half and half. So I'm going to put the loopy end down. I'm just eyeballing the middle. And I'm going to put it a little bit farther up than the edge. And the reason for that is once you've got this stuffed, the flap's going to be not as nice, not as tight because there's stuff in there. So that's why it's an expanding folder. So I'm going to just put this on this one because that's the cheating way to do it. I should have done that after I did my note. And I didn't want it right there. While it's empty, we can have it kind of halfway on the Velcro. And then, of course, we need a tie. And I think I am just going to use, since it's green, I have this piece of green yarn. So I'm going to punch a small hole here, just a regular hole punch hole, just this size like you would use on, the school papers and that kind of thing. I'm going to put it right there. About center. Up. And what I'm going to do is put this through. Just do a regular knot, right over left, left over right, sort of thing. I'm going to put it just underneath. And I'm going to put a dab of this wet sticky glue on it just to hold it in place. So while that dries, maybe I'm just going to put a clothespin on it. I had clothespins on my desk. I really did. Goodness. What have I done? Okay, I guess I am just going to hold that because my clothespins have magically disappeared. Well, that really doesn't surprise me in the least. Annoys me, but it doesn't surprise me. I had cleared off my desk before I started my live yesterday, And of course, once you're working, it kind of gets like this. I think that's reasonably, nope, not reasonably dry, not dry at all. Okay, now what? You're going to sit here and watch me hold this? I don't think so. I think that's going to be highly boring and annoying. Well, I don't know where my we'll just use a paper clip. Those I have right here. Right there. I don't know what's going to be the best way to. Let's try that. That way it's in the glue. This comes out. We'll leave that to dry just a little bit. Decide what kind of a closure I'm going to put this on this one. This is kind of bright and fun. How about a button? Button. Let's find a nice button. This is the button that I put on the last one that I used a button. Very pretty. There's a few different styles. They're very gorgeous little buttons. I have a bin of fun buttons, obviously, compared to just a bin of regular buttons. Of course, I could use regular buttons. These ones I find are just a little bit big, but they do work. Although I don't have a nice blue one. I could use, that's too bright. I could have probably used that on there. But that's okay. We'll find something. Got elephants. I want something in the blue tones. I have this one, but it's got a bit of a shank on it. So I could poke it through. I don't think you can see it enough. I need just a bit of a contrast on top of. What about a frog? Maybe the frog on this one. That one too has the shank, so I would have to be very careful stitching that. We'll think. I will think. I will think. There's a blue butterfly. What do you think about that? Not sure I like the yellow. An owl? Little blue owl? He's cute. I think I'm going to use the owl. So what I did for the other is I crocheted a chain, just a regular chain stitch, sewed the button down, and then tied the um, chain to the button sewing, and that worked very nicely. So I have this crochet cotton. It's a little bit thinner than I'd like to use. It's more of a crochet thread, definitely doily making stuff. It's in a ball because that's the way I got it. I think that was passed on to me by a friend when her mom went into a personal care home. I get that kind of stuff fairly often because my friends know that I craft. Let's try it. I have a small crochet hook and I can crochet and talk. I've crocheted for so many years that it's almost like a second nature. So I'm just doing a chain stitch through. So this is going to be much finer than this one because it's a much finer thread. You can just see the difference, but it's still fine for the purposes that I'm going to be using it for. I have in the past crocheted beads onto the wraps that I've used. Maybe that's what my day 4 will be. I will just I talked about it in the video yesterday that I might just spend some time making crochet chains to use for wraps for various things, and I could bling them up with some beads as I work, which could be nice. They don't need much, they just need two or three at the bottom. I can always just do a dangle of beads after if I so desire. But if we're tucking these into junk journals, the beads definitely take up space, and these are already pretty thick. Like, you know, it's not, it doesn't look bad now, but if you start putting stuff in it, it's going to expand. You have to remember there are three envelopes in there, so that makes six pockets. And since they're half envelope size, you can fit a fair bit of stuff in there. They hold ATCs. What size are they when they're done? 3 3/4 by 3 1/4. So that's a fairly decent sized pocket for sure. And of course, you can fold up little letters. When we were talking about it, we decided that these would be great for pack and go bits of ephemera. If you're going out and you want to take something along to do, you could have bits of fuzzy cuts or die cuts or whatever to take along with you. Um, I guess they would be good for little cards too, if almost like a wallet, in which case I would definitely want to put something a little bit more sturdy. I would like to then use a fabric instead of a painted paper as the wrap, depending on how messy your purse is. Mine is messy. It is there for a reason, to carry stuff. And I do mean stuff. I used to carry big purses because my husband was always, we had secondhand vehicles, older vehicles. So we always had screwdrivers and vice grips, and they would always end up in my purse. So to this day, I carry a purse that will hold multitudes of whatever. But now we don't necessarily carry the tools other than in a toolbox in the back. So it carries a lot of bits of paper and receipts. I have to clean it out far more often. It's amazing how purse junk evolves as you age. This is a nice mug. We have a store in town that does ceramics, so you can go and paint your own. So I went and painted that one day with some other people. And I like to carry a big cup with me when I go out to the greenhouse, or if I'm out in the yard. It saves having to run back in and refill mugs all the time. It's got a nice wide base, so it's much sturdier than the other big mugs I have in the house, which, tall and narrow. This one's coming up too. That's okay. I like to go around 2 or 3 times. That still needs a little bit more. And we're tangled in. I'll have to do those edges. Yep. Glue sticks are my nemesis. I seem to find that they need to be capped, for one. Smeary, and I don't know. I just don't know. They do hold nicely from, what people tell me, and that's a good thing, but it's the plastic into the landfill. We're trying so hard, doing away with the single-use plastics. Although before they went out of like the single-use straws before they got taken off the shelves. I did buy a couple of packs of them because my husband's a woodworker, and when he's gluing things, we'll cut a piece of the straw off so that when there's the corner and we've got glue seepage, the straw will bend just nicely to scoop up that bit of glue. So, yeah. Okay, maybe we're long enough now. Let's see. 1, 2, just a little more. Let's do 25 more stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. And of course, this is much looser crochet because this hook is big for this thread. As I say, I don't use this thread very often, obviously. It's more of a it's too thin. Some days my eyesight is just not up to dealing with it. Okay, so I just ended it off. I left a long tail because it's nice to put around the shank of the button and tie it. Okay, so there's the thread. That gets added after. So now to do the button, I am going to stitch it on. I have a nice big needle here. I have a piece of foam so that I can poke holes without poking holes in the desk. I am going to glue this corner down. See? Glue stick. Corner. I don't know. Just don't know, I tell ya. What's this one like? You would think that it's paper to paper. It would hold down. Very annoying. So when I'm sewing buttons onto paper, I like to have a backing so that, especially if it's thinner paper like this, you need something with a little bit of stability. So just like when I'm sewing on my hearts, I cut the hearts out and I glue them down onto another piece of paper just so that it's a little bit stronger than just a single piece of paper because you can get tear through so much easier. I'm not saying you're not going to get tear through by stitching through 2 pieces of paper, but it's got that little bit of body to it. So I had just punched out some holes from paint chip, glued 2 of them together. I've got a 5/8 inch hole punch. That's all I used. So I think that that's going to be big enough for a backing for the owl. So since this part is where the owl's going to be, and I have to remember to sew him right side up. I had to cut that other button off of the pink one because I had the lady standing on her head. And then I realized, wait a minute, wrong way round. Wrong way, Corrigan, as my mom would say. So I'm thinking that is where the button is going to go. So I am going to take this, hold them in place, open it up, put this underneath, reposition them because I let them go. Right about there. I think that's about middle. Can you see him enough? I think so. I think he's good. One quick look, see if I've got one in another color that might stick out. I have a yellow one. What do you think? Yellow or blue? I still like the blue. Or a donut? No. No donuts. No flowers. Okay. Blue it is. That's where he's going to go. I've got him in place. I'm going to take this and poke 2 holes. So I know where the holes are going to be. Then I'm going to put this piece of paper behind. I'm just going to glue it. Put it over the holes. Put the cap back on. Turn this over and see if I can find out where those holes were, and then just poke them again through that piece of paper. So I probably should have marked, there they are. There's one, there's two. See, perfect, perfect, perfect. This can go. Now, is this needle going to go through the holes? No, I'll need a bit smaller needle, which is fine. Let's try you. Just will go through. There's nothing like having, nope, won't go through that one. Won't go through. Oh, well, if I stick it upside down. So if I do that a couple of times, that should enlarge it enough. Yep, because it's a wood button. It would enlarge the hole enough for this needle to go through comfortably. I'm going to put this one, just put it back in the jar. Just do it. So I'm going to take some of this blue thread that I used for crocheting the string. Isn't it much easier just putting some Velcro down on it? But the buttons do give it a lovely effect. Absolutely lovely effect. Come on. Thread the needle. You're all going, use a wire. I do have a needle threader. I think I just broke my last one. There we go. You would think, that eye of the needle is pretty big. And I will double the thread just because. So then I am going to go from the back side. I didn't tie any knots because I don't want to add bulk. This, and hold it in place. Then I'm going to go down the other hole. And then back up this one. Now I can let go of that string. If I pull hard, it will pull out, but I'm not too worried about that. So if this is going to be this way, I'm on that side, so I'm going to go through the right-hand hole of the button, and then down the left-hand hole of the button, and then through the paper. Now, a little trick for this is I'm going to take this thin crochet hook and I'm going to put it here. The reason being is I don't want him to sit overly flush to the paper because I'm going to be wrapping that string and cord around. That might be just a little big. Do I have a toothpick or something else? You know what? I could just take a little piece of this paper and fold it a couple of times, and that may do it. So I've got that piece of paint chip that I'm going to fold it 3 or 4 times. I'm just going to slip it under between the threads. Then I'm going to go back up the hole that I started with. Well, maybe I have to wait to do that part. So this obviously, now that it's got thread through it, is going to be a little bit harder to get through. So now I have to, because I've got so much thread underneath, I'm just going to do that, because then through this one. Maybe. Come on. Okay, so I don't want to pull it too tight. I have a bit of a loop there. I am going to take care of the loop. All right. So he has a little bit of play in him. You can see that I didn't do him snug, which is fine. It's kind of what I'm looking for. So then I am just going to cut this off here. And I'm going to take my glue stick. I moved it, didn't I? Because I put the cap on it and I put it. Oh my goodness. Yes, this is my crazy crafting life. I tell ya. There it is. I'm just going to take the glue stick. Yeah, I'm this disorganized when I do my lives in the middle of the day too, folks. It's not because it's 4 a.m. It's just who I am. Bit of a calamity. Bit of a calamity. So I'm just going to glue those ends. And then I am going to take a piece of paper, as I did for this one, for the stability, and I'm going to put it across, and that's going to hold these ends down and put everything in nicely. So I've got another one of those paint chip cards with the list on it. Again, I'm going to cut off the numbers. And yeah, I'll be looking for that later. We know. We know. Round it. And again, this is just to stabilize that flap so that it's got a bit of bulk, whatever. So again, that's going to glue those ends down. It's going to glue that in place. And then we're going to glue this one down on top. See, I've got a glue paper, and am I using it? No. Why? Don't ask. I don't know why. Because I like changing this paper every day? I don't know. Okay, so now I've got the flap glued down. Cute little owl on it. I kind of like them. So then I've got this piece that I did, and I've got this long end that I didn't do anything with. So that long end I am going to wrap underneath the owl 3 times. 2, 1, 2, 3. And that also will build up that bit of a bulk underneath it. And then I am just going to tie a couple of knots around the chain part, pulling it snug so the knot hides underneath the button. And I'm going to do that twice. And then I am going to cut this long string off as close under the button as I can get. And then we've got the wrap. And of course, around the button. And then we have this one. So this one should be dry by now. Oh, definitely. Nice. So I am going to cut this end off quite short. Close it and just wrap it. I guess that needed a button on it too. Let me see. What can we put on the hole to use just as a button? Just going to glue something down, maybe. A donut? How about that? No. How about if I just do a paper one out of a piece of paint chip and do a couple of layers and put it in with a brad. Because I didn't think it through. Now I have to think about not that green. See, I have lots of paint chips. I need like a yellowy green. Let's grab a whole stack and find one I like. You know what? There's a little bit there that's clearish that might be a nice green. Nobody's here to give me direction, so I'm just going to wing it. Maybe this one. Maybe this one. I think that's pretty good. I think I'll use that one. Now, if I would have thought about this better, I would have put some additional stability in here and the brad would have been hidden totally away. But now that I've got it this way, I have to plan on how. I think I've got an idea. We'll see. We'll see. First, let's punch some little holes to make a button. I'm going to do 3 because it's a thicker paper. Should hold nicely. This one's got printing on it, so it's got to go in the middle. So that's 2 layers. And I want the color on top. And actually, if I'd have thought about it, I would have wanted the color on the bottom as well. So, if I take this piece of Velcro off, I will just add glue to that and put it back on. And if I use, I will have to make another hole, but that's okay. So I just need a little hole just above this one. That one's too small. I'm just going to use this little punch and I'm going to punch a hole just above. Let's try this way because you can see better. Just above that hole. And I'm going to punch a hole. Oh my, see? Stuff. Kim. I'm going to try and get it centered. I can't promise that's going to work, but it's not. Come on. It's a little small for my clumsy old fingers. Let's see. There we go. Balance it. Do it. Do it. Do I have the center? We can hope. We can hope. Not bad. Not bad. So then I'm going to take a brad, a green brad. You know what? I'm going to use a brass brad because there's some gold in the paper. And I'm going to use that. So then I'm going to take the brad. I'm going to put it through here. Remember, there's the stabilizer in here, so it's not bad strength-wise. And I'm going to do it so that the brad goes sideways and opens. Now, I would have, if I'd have thought this through earlier, I would have, I can't split this brad. There we go. I would have had the brad between the papers so that you couldn't see it. But because I didn't, now I have to, well, you know what? This Velcro covers most of it. I'm going to just go with the brad is not sharp, so that's okay. It's just I didn't want it visible. And again, if I had toothpicks, clothespins, I would be putting clothespins on this to hold it. Okay. So we'll close it. Then we'll wrap it. And we will tuck this underneath the button, paint chip button we just did. And there we go. There. It's okay. It's okay. This one and this one. This piece of blue thread can go away. One more. One more. Not too bad. I've been on for 52 minutes. I like to stream for about an hour as a rule. I think I'll do another. How about one of these wooden buttons? That's pretty nice. And I'm going to use this green. So I will crochet the fine cotton into a string, and then I will stitch this button down the same way I did the owl. It's nice and peaceful at this time. Although, I was just thinking, wow, my furnace hasn't come on for a while. It's getting a little chilly down here, and bingo, there goes the furnace. See, this is a much thicker cotton than that blue. I can crochet it faster because I'm not, this hook is a nice size for that. And as I say, I could put dangly things on the ends of these strings. I think that is going to be my day 4. I'm just going to crochet a whole bunch of strings. I will put things on some of them, and some of them I will leave blank. And I'll do them in various sizes, obviously. That's going to be my day 4 project, is some crochet. Because it's nice and simple, and I can be watching other people stream, or I can listen to an audio book. I listen to an awful lot of audiobooks while I craft, because if I don't have something else, watching other crafters is great, but I find that then I get more ideas, and I'm not as focused on what I'm doing because I want to try something new and different. So by having an audiobook on, first of all, you have to kind of pay attention to it because it's a story, and then I just do mindless crafting, which is wonderful. Um, because if you're anything like me, your mind is going here, there, all over the place constantly. So I find that to be much more relaxing with an audiobook. Also, because growing up, we had stories on the radio every Sunday night, and we would listen. So I've always enjoyed having a story in the background to listen to while I work. A little bit more, and then this will be done. I guess I don't always have to crochet things too. I've got so many different fibers. I just have to dig something else out. These just happen to be available and closer at hand than the other ones. The other ones are a bit shinier as well. They're two, just about. A few more stitches. See how much faster this green went than the blue? It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. All right. I think that's good. Cut it. My scissors are getting really dull. They're just dollar store scissors from when I used to teach. I would always take extra scissors along so that, if somebody forgot their scissors, that would be fine. I'd have something for them to work with. Oh, a little short. That's okay too. That is okay too. So for this one, I'm going to need to punch the holes so that I've got a solid backing. I'll use this same green. I'll punch two holes out of this size again, just to back it. Glue them together. Of course, this doesn't really matter what color they are because it's going to be buried inside. Okay, so that other needle thread's nicer with this thicker thread, so I want that one back. This one can go in the bin, string and all. Make sure that the eye of the needle will go through the holes. Not a problem. Not a problem. So remember, it goes on this part of the flap. Let's go right about there. Looks set. I'm going to punch the holes through that on top while I'm doing the whole thing. It's not quite centered. That's okay. It's underneath and nobody's going to see. Now, because this is a 4-hole button, I'm only going to use a single strand of the cotton, and that's because you don't want lots of bulk inside the flap from all the threads. And again, we have a bit of a struggle for the button. I'm going to finish this one off, and then I am going to end the stream. I thank anybody who comes and watches the replay. Since nobody was here to play with me, that's okay. Middle of the night, I totally get it. Let's put the lid on the glue. And I've got so many glue sticks that I need to take the glue out of. I think that's going to be another project for the day. It's not going to be part of the 100-day creation, just fine as well. So this time I'm still going to leave an end. But I'm going to go to the opposite corner. So that it's going to be in a crisscross like fashion. Trying to be very careful to go through the holes that I've already created so that I don't weaken the top paper any more than is necessary. It's all about having stability in it while you're doing this. You know, paper will tear. Okay, so now I've got all four. And this one, I have a loop under there. That's from this. All right. So I'm going to stitch on this button. So yes, I do all the stitches first to hold this in place. Then I'm going to go to that corner, which is this corner. But as you can see, this paper wants to wrinkle and be annoying because it's thin and it has a mind of its own for sure. I'm only going to do one single stitch across each of them. Glue stick, we'll trim this one down. Glue those ends down. But as you can see, because of the stitching, we now have a fair bit of bulk in here. So that's why I'm only doing a single thread through, unlike the owl where I did two. Piece of, I'll just continue using this green. Just going to use this piece in the center of all the holes. I'll use those as a stencil for an ATC around the corners. Glue that across. Hello, 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 Kellyanne. I've been up for an hour. I'm finishing off those little pockets that I started yesterday in this stream. I couldn't sleep. I've been awake for a long time already. And I thought, why not? Instead of playing video games, why not? Nice to see you. You've been up for about 45 minutes. Were you watching Mary? I know that Mary's streaming and I'm bad. I just needed to have total, yeah, it is nice. Middle of the night, early morning. What time is it here? It is. Oh, it's getting on to 6. I've been awake since before 4. And like I say, normally I play video games when I have anxiety attacks in the middle of the night. But I kind of took to heart what Beth said about streaming in the middle of the night because there's nobody on. So I've just been sitting here crafting and chatting with myself, and almost 7 there. That's not bad. Did you sleep through? About 3:30? Yeah, I fell asleep early. I had that rough day yesterday with going for blood work and new meds, and everything just kind of really throws me off. Oh, I'm glad you're here. So I did the pink one that I showed, and then I finished these 2 off this morning. That's a little button, so he's sewn on. This one I didn't think through very well, so I whatever. And then I thought a wooden button would look really nice on this one. And of course I crocheted. I did crochet the string for it. Is 3:30 about a normal time for you? For some reason, I'm back on going to sleep at about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and being up at some stupid hour. So you actually went to bed when I was waking up. So I was thinking for my day 4 for my creativity challenge thing, because I've been sitting crocheting these online. That one I didn't, but this blue one I did, and this one I did. I think I'm going to. You have insomnia? I have anxiety, and I wake up in the middle of the night with anxiety attacks because that's so much fun. I had insomnia when I was working. So I figured I would do a craft and chat, and chatting with myself, and finished off my day 3 things. So I've got those for my stash. I was saying on the video how much I like the 100-day challenges because it makes me make things that I like to have in my stash, but I don't normally. Those, yeah. I have no idea where I saw that originally, Kellyanne, but I've been making them for a couple of years. Like I say, I had a couple left, and the grandsons love them. I have no idea what. This one I did Velcro on. Once you start filling these up, the it gets wider. So, I think I've got too big a piece in here actually for this one. This one's just going to be demo. I'm not thrilled. I'll have to pack it and see what happens. But yeah, these little pockets, they're so simple. Really, you need a box of envelopes, some glue, and some paper, buttons, and I'm sure you've got buttons. But they make really cute little gifts too. Like the one that I sent off to Miriam yesterday, I stuffed all the pockets with little bits. And because it's 3 envelopes, there's I there's 6 buttons or 6 pockets, and I've got some decorative buttons. So it's a nice way to use them up. And I've got other buttons, obviously, because who doesn't have buttons? So find a nice piece of twine or something to go on. The only thing, like I say with the buttons, is you have to have something behind them to stitch them down. Yeah. This was, well, between yesterday and today, but it's not a problem. I can walk you through it. So before you've seen it up to where I glue these, you know what? Let's make one. I'm not going anywhere. And I don't mind showing you. So, and I'll just do it with 2 envelopes. Nope, 3. I like 3. Sorry. 3 envelopes. All the same size because I have a box of them. You seal them. Let's move this. I actually had a glue paper and I didn't use it. Surprise! 3 envelopes. So then you fold them end to end. And I have covered them in fabric too. Like if you had somebody really special you wanted to give a cute gift to with your embroidery and stuff, you could do an absolutely beautiful. These are 3 and 5/8 by 6.5. And the reason I use them this size is because I use my painty papers, right? So I can get plus a flap out of a painty paper. So I use the little ones. If you use a big one, let me grab a big envelope here. Bear with me, I have big envelopes. If you use like the legal size envelopes and they're folded, you don't get a flap, a decent flap. So I like using the little ones. So when they're done, what I measured them earlier. They're like 3.5 by. Let's measure them again. Anyway, I like using the little papers. 3.5 by 3 3/4. Yeah, you can cut a piece of fabric. So, but don't cut the fabric until you've got this part done. So you've got your 3 envelopes. You stack them with all the folds at the bottom. They do hold ATCs. They do. They hold a lot of things. You know, they're a lovely. I don't know. I like them. So I do have here. Is this on screen? I'll cut at this end. I have no room. I haven't cleaned up yet, but that's okay. So you put them together, you put them under, and you just want to take off the edge, the very edge. And just so that they all open. You test them to make sure that they open, right? And they do. There's a little bit. But they all open. Make them open. Okay, so they all open. We're good. And if not, you can use scissors. Yesterday, I used my ruler and a blade. You know what? These don't open. That's it. Get out the mucky old open sesame. So this is the hardest part. Seriously, this is the hardest part. Is making sure that you've cut off enough for them to open. Am I on screen? I am. So then you know, scissors work just fine too. Blades dull, but it's good for now. Get that out of the way. If you could only see, you know how I said your desk is so clean? All around me is like that. Yeah, I use my rotary cutter too. It's in the other room, and I can't find my 6-inch quilting square. It's somewhere. So my 24-inch, like my Omnigrid 24-inch, I don't have enough room. If I cleaned up, I would. I know, but when I watched you the other night, your desk was clean, and then you showed me behind you, and I told you I felt at home. This is why. Okay, so these now definitely all open. My hands are very dry. It's winter time. I'm one of those crunchy, cracky old ladies. There we go. So they're done. I can put the ruler aside. I put clothespins on my desk and I can't find them. It's okay. Doesn't matter. So then you've got them. Wonderful Nemesis glue stick. You can use double-sided tape. And you put them together like this. Then you put the next one on top. You glue top and bottom for the next one. And this is why, and you line them up, right? This is why you don't do the half hole punch at the top, because you cut through the glue and they fall apart. Trust me. I know. The only thing you need to be aware of is that the glue doesn't close up your pieces. So you do this. It's like magic. Sort of. So you saw this part, right? Do the half hole punch first, but then because you need it glued in the center so that it accordions nicely. You know what I mean? Like if it's glued here, like right across, it doesn't seem to accordion as nice. You know what I mean? Oh, okay. Okay. So the reason, being, and like I say, I've done the tape. I did do it all the way across, and it doesn't expand the way that it does if you just do it in the middle. But I mean, it's easy enough to you just do the outside a little bit bigger, taller, you know what I mean, for the flap, and then you can have things standing up higher. But yeah, it just, that's the way I originally saw it, and I did oops and put tape right across. So anyway, simple, easy accordion, right? You could put this in a multitude of things. I have painty papers. That one's not wide enough. I'm just going to use one that I've got already cut from one of those. So then you just kind of measure I just need to take just a smidge off of this. I do like it to have a little bit of room on the sides. Yeah. So I just take my ruler, give it just a bit on the sides because sometimes I don't glue straight. I don't cut straight. You know how it goes. So this piece of paper is obviously, it was an 8 by 10 gel print. So I put that ruler aside and I was going to measure this for you. So this is 3 3/4, a little bit, just a hair over. And that's 9 3/4. What are those? 8/16. Couple of lines over that. That's not as crunch because just a little bit of room on the sides. Because, and then you take your paper or fabric, you glue it down to the front first. Okay, so we're going to put glue on this. Just make sure that when you do this, the folded ones are to the bottom. The edge of the paper glues to the open side, or fabric, if you're using fabric. Glue it down. See, a little bit of room on the sides, that's fine. I didn't glue my envelope straight, but that's okay. It's okay. Then you glue this one down. So you fold it up pretty tight, line up the paper edges, and press. Yeah, but it's just paper, right? And you usually can pull it off if it's, And then this flap, I fold it like this, leaving just a little bit of room. And then there's the flap. So it's really, really hard to make. Can you see? Like, really, really hard. But wouldn't that be cute with some of your embroidery? Yeah. So the other thing you have to watch for is this is where the button goes, not this one, because that's folded under, right? And if you're sewing a button on, I like putting a piece of something underneath it for stability. Like when I do my hearts, I glue them onto another piece of paper just for the stability. Because one piece of paper you can rip through very easy, right? And then you just tie your string on. And I put a little bit of something harder in the flap, again for stability. Not too strong because as this expands, you need it to bend and flow. What else? When I do things with a brad, this one, I wasn't thinking when I did this one this morning. I punched a hole and I tied a string. It's got Velcro. So I figured, oh, good. So then I tied the string on it and I went, didn't have anything to tie it to. So I just punched out a couple of circles and used a brad. Normally that would be between bottom of the brad would be here so that I could glue this over so it's hidden. I didn't do that. So this one's kind of like, well, it is what it is because it happens. But really simple. So, you buy a box of these at the dollar store, right? $1.25, $1.50, and you can make a few. This had 55 envelopes in it. And you use 3 at a time or 2 at a time, depending on what you want to do. But just, but like we were saying in the stream yesterday, if you want to go, yeah, I think this one I got at Staples. So it was probably a couple of dollars. I've had these forever. The one at dollar store I think might only be like 30 envelopes, but still, you're going to get 10 of these things out of it. And envelopes for mailing stuff, right? But they're the small, just regular envelopes. They're not bubble packed or anything. But if you were going out and you wanted to take some stuff with you, you put a bit of ephemera in there, some thread, whatever, and just tucks nicely in your purse. So yeah, if I was going to be putting it in my purse, I would definitely use fabric. And the one that I did on the show yesterday, I used one of those orange flowers, right? So those flowers that I painted, so I did 2 or 3 layers of paper behind it and cut it out and used it like a button. So you're really just limited by your imagination. Then I was thinking too that like on the dangles, I could put some beads at the very bottom. I could crochet beads into it. Yeah, exactly. Wouldn't these make cute gifts? Like if you here, I don't know what it's like there, but here there are a lot of they give teacher gifts at Christmas and that kind of thing. And I have a friend who's a teacher, and she says, if I get one more mug that says best teacher, I will scream. So something like this, and maybe like a coffee card in it. How cute is that? The other thing that I I sold a lot of these. I sell them for about $5. Where are those paper clips? Those anyway, I've got clothespins and I paint the clothespins. You don't have to paint them. You could use fabric. You could use strips of fancy. Oh, that's just so ready annoying. I will find them and I will put them aside and I'll show you. They make great teachers' gifts too. Like if the wooden clothespins on one side of them, I don't take them apart or anything. I just painted snowmen on them. You want a doily out of this green variegated yarn? Can't you get this there? You don't crochet? I could probably do you a small doily out of this green variegated yarn, Kellyanne. Ah, Kellyanne, are you Irish? Sorry. Personal questions. Middle of the night, Kim. Behave yourself. Anyway, the wooden clothespins, you paint one edge. I just painted snowmen on them. And then I took magnetic tape and put them on the back so that they were like fridge magnets. And I sold a lot of those. For teachers' gifts because they were magnetized. They could put them on their filing cabinets. I am just irritated that I can't see them because I just used them. That's it. I must clean today before I do day 4. I'm not going to do a video for day 4. There they are, like this. Just a wooden clothespin. Little tiny doilies for embellishments. Oh, I could teach you how to do that. I definitely could teach you how to do that. So I just painted it white. Eyes, nose, and then I used the Mod Podge Dimensional Magic on top. Put a strip of magnetic tape on the back, and I sold them 3 for $5. You collect snowmen. Ah, well, well. I have snowmen. Um, my girlfriend and I did a big craft show. We shared a booth, and everything was snowmen. So I did snowman bookmarks and snowman finger puppets, and I painted jars with snowmen, and I did these. And my husband turned me a bunch of wooden snowmen, so I painted them with vests and coats and whatever. Had a lot of fun. But I'm not doing craft shows anymore, so you know. But these, seriously. Good morning, Brenda. How are you? Nice to see you. We're just talking about quick, fast gifts for out of glove fingers. So you do the finger puppets? Anyway, these when I got the idea because I used to sell my work at a local museum, and one of the other ladies who was selling work had her clothespins, and but she had like floral papers on, like what scrapbook paper. So she had, and she was selling them 3 for $5. And again, it was just a piece of paper on top with the dimensions on. Fast, simple, but since it's a tourist place, we went through a lot of inventory that way. But that's a great idea, like for teachers' gifts. At the dollar store, the wooden clothespins are what, 100 for $1.50 and maybe $2. And when you're selling them in threes, I did 3 packs and I ran out. It was very boring doing this many snowmen. But I mean, I could have done Santas or whatever, but because our booth was snowmen. So, yeah, great teacher's gifts. That's what I advertised them as, teacher's gifts. So, yeah. So I was just finishing up, Brenda, what I started on my videos yesterday. I was doing these, I'm doing that 100-day challenge. Nice, Brenda. You know, lighthouses on these would be kind of cool. Nice. Nice. Owl. Yeah. So my day 3 project was these little envelope accordion folders. And I didn't get them finished yesterday. So I woke up in the middle of the night and couldn't sleep. So I figured I would come and do a live and finish these up. So I did 3, and this is the 4th. They would, you know. I like the fact of teachers' gifts. forever looking for, cheaper things. Well, some of them have like 6 teachers, one for each. That's a lot of gifts to be giving, even though I appreciate them and everything. That's you're a teacher and you would love it. It's different than a mug, right? And it's because it's a magnet, you can have it on your filing cabinet. So yeah. But it can run into a chunk of change for like a single mom with kids, 2 or 3 kids, and having to get gifts for teachers. So anyway, those I found were a really good seller. These are a great seller because you can put so many different things in them, being the envelopes. And you don't have to use 3 envelopes. I use 3 because I do. 2 envelopes works just as well. Little bit of string and a button. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to. I wanted to demonstrate. Day 1, I did those wooden bits with those darn paint chips I've got, and somebody had asked me how I would use them, so I did the fences. But I did some. Let's turn it upside down. Birds sitting on under the camera. Birds sitting on posts. I just haven't decided what the heck they're looking at. Haven't figured that out yet. So there's a card in the making. Do you get a lot of the mugs that you're the best teacher, or things with apples on them, Brenda? My girlfriend is a teacher, and she's got one family that, yeah, mugs and candles. I saw a lot of that when I was working at the thrift store. Teachers' mugs, teachers' candles. Oh, there's water in there. Nice. Now I have wet string. Um, the one family always gets her liquor-filled chocolates. Oh, nice. Autism Middle School. I worked with young adults with varying abilities. I didn't work with kids. So I got them right after they graduated high school. I had one young man with Asperger's and detested women. Like his dad was a real, I don't know what. Anyway, he had a really hard time following direction from women, and even some of the guys in the office would talk to him and he just wouldn't pay any attention, just whatever. So I figured out that if I wrote things down, he would read it and he would be perfectly fine. So I had to write every instruction down. We had one of the things we did was we went around and mowed lawns for people, and it was like a job for them. And so I would have to give him direction if he was going to be weed whacking or whatever. So I would have to write everything down. Yeah, it was crazy. He used to run with the lawnmower. It drove me crazy. I would have to stand in front of him and make him stop with a sign saying, "Walk, don't run." It was nuts. Yeah. Yeah. Well, he had an incredible memory. Like he could spew facts about World War II and every football team from the beginning of time. You know, so it's not that it was just the certain level of where he was. So I figured if he could read that stuff, he could read directions. But it took a while to figure that one out. But some of them definitely have their own ideas. Okay. Figure out how I'm going to, what kind of a closure I'm going to put on this one. Maybe I'm just going to put some Velcro on it and call it done. That's nice and simple. And they don't all have to be fancy. Although I have them and went, well, I could do a really nice little collage and I could do like a pocket tuck with something else to put on it. This is a gel print, obviously, and I'd done the page orange. The dots were actually orange. First of all, I had yellow leaves, and I painted my leaves yellow, and I put them down on the plate. Then I did orange dots on top of them, and then I pulled with the green, and the orange all went brown. So, yeah. And of course, if I had ink, I would ink edges, but I don't have ink. I use paint, watered down paint. But I'm not going to bother doing edges. I'm just going to Velcro it and call it done. But yeah, these little things, I love, like I was saying, I love the 100-day challenge because it just makes me up my turtle shell. Yeah, it could be. Let's go under camera. You can see the leaves. Now, I have put these in journals. So I have tucked them in pockets, but one day I did glue one down. So if you're planning on gluing it down, you lose that entire beautiful back. Just so that you know. But I'm sure you guys would have figured that out. So I'm going to just wing it and put that where I think the middle is. Put that one on top. Take the sticky back off. Okay, take the sticky back off. And just a little bit lower. Because this will spread. So yeah, these will hold ATCs. They'll hold ephemera. They will hold little gift cards. They will hold whatever you want to tuck. Whatever you want to put in the pockets. Very simple, fast, done. Kellyanne hadn't seen how I made them yesterday, so I did a really quick tutorial for her on here. It took what, 20 minutes, Kelly? So those are those. And I think today I'm going to crochet a whole bunch of strands in various lengths because I'm always looking for something for wraps. But yeah, Kellyanne, I can show you how to do little doilies. I can show you those other stitches. Just let me know when, where, how. Always willing to share on how to do things. I did a bunch of little crocheted stuff. I go on binges, ladies. It's crazy. I've got so many crazy hobbies that I focus on something for a day and then I'm off on a tangent doing other things. So I spent a week making crocheted bits. So I've got like little flowers, a bazillion little flowers. I've got more little flowers and more little flowers. I guess these are all flowers. I did leaves, like vines and leaves. Yeah, these ones are, nope. Here we go. I did little cats. I have nothing but time. I'm retired. That's why I can video in the middle of the night. That's why I can, you know. So I got a whole stack of little. And have I used any of these things? No, I have not. used any of these things. The cats, I didn't know if I wanted to put little bead eyes on and some whiskers or just have them as is. But yeah, I spent a whack load of time doing a whole bunch of crocheting, little dangles. And yep, I only have one thing of leaves. So I guess I could do some leaves. But that was, but I make this stuff and I don't use it. I send stuff out in Happy Mail. It's just whatever. I have stuff, ladies, and I have to use it. I have to use, you saw how many paint chips I've got to use. And I'm happy that, I managed to use 10 doing these things. See, everything's sitting on my desk. I have to put it away. These things, the fake tickets. I figured these will make nice pockets or tucks because they're so, with the paint chips, they're pretty tough. And organization. I have to figure out some sort of organization because I don't have any. Everything's just piled everywhere. Oh, green's your favorite color. Haha. Kind of got a little bit of a hint on that. Green was my mother's favorite color. She says, I love green no matter what color it is. But yeah, it's kind of overwhelming sometimes. I wish I had somebody really close that liked to play journals. I have a friend that just started doing it and she's been meaning to come and play, but her husband had COVID and then her kids got sick, and I'm really hoping I can pawn a lot of stuff off on her. I would send it to the States, but our shipping is so crazy expensive. So, yeah, it's kind of what I've been up to. Day 4 is going to just be strings. I'm going to do a whole bunch of strings in various. I probably have a rainbow of this stuff. Yeah, they're all okay now. So she just went on a trip to British Columbia and she's just nicely back. So we'll probably get together sometime in March. We like to get together once a month and we sit and crochet and stuff. The last time she was here, I was doing stitching on a page of hearts, and it really intrigued her because she does cross stitch and stuff. So she decided that she would do a journal, and she's kind of got sucked into that area. So yeah, anything else I can show you guys while we're here? I've got a bin of fun buttons. You're in Maine? I'm in Manitoba. Manitoba, Canada, which is just north of North Dakota and Minnesota. They're like 60 kilometers, maybe 60 miles from where I am is the border. So you get snow in Maine, but it's more of a damp, isn't it? I had a friend in Maine. She moved to Massachusetts recently. She was in South China, Maine. Yeah, Manitoba. Land of the cold right now. Land of the cold. But you get snow. I remember her talking about having to do some snow blowing. It's not that cold out here right now. Fahrenheit, it's -5 with a -22 wind chill. That's not too bad. So is your snow heavy and wet? Because you're close to the blah blah blah. You are close to the coast. Yeah. We haven't had much snow this year. I think our entire fall, like, has been maybe 10 inches. Like when I look at my backyard, it's not that bad. We get a lot of blow in though because we're prairie. We get lots of blowing. Good morning, Tori. Yeah, our prevailing wind in winter is from the northwest. So that's like right across farmers' fields for us. Now we have houses behind us. When we first moved here, we didn't have houses. And we had some incredible drifts. Incredible drifts. There was one year it was up to the eaves on our next door neighbor's house. And the only reason that happened was because we built a shed at the back of the yard and it created a swirly wind pattern. Welcome to my channel, Tori. I woke up in the middle of the night and needed to do something, so I figured I would pop on, and I'm doing the 100-day creative challenge. So I wanted to finish up my day 3 before I started day 4. So figured that I would do that. Do you do junk journaling, paper crafts? What kind of things are you interested in? I don't know if I've seen you on other chats, on other streams. Have I seen you? I usually quite often just lurk and work when I'm watching someone. Oh, you're new to junk journaling. Oh, who do you watch? Because I'm sure that we could help you out with people to watch for wonderful new ideas. Or old ideas. This is what I did for the day 3. They're little envelope pouches. So it's just painty paper and envelopes glued together accordion style. And they make great little tucks into pockets and things. Right, right. That streamathon. I got a lot of new people from the streamathon as well. Well, I'm glad you popped in. This was my day 2 from the creative challenge. Made some faux tickets, decorative tickets. Those were day 3. Day 1, I was using up paint chips. So I wanted to use all the brown paint chips. Brown is not my favorite color. So I made like logs and I glue them together like fencing in a journal. And then I put, like I glue them together like little fences. And then I take some of my paper flowers and I decorate them. Or I'll use them as tucks, that kind of thing. That was my day 1. Thanks, Kellyanne. From doing it in the morning and getting the feedback from you guys, which was number 1? You know what? I think number 1 ended up going to Miriam. Nope, there it is. I did this on a pop-up live. So I'm trying to use up paint chips. So I chopped the paint chip, Oh, Kellyanne, you're the one that was telling me to do these corners, right? And I was going, no, 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 not sure I liked it. So anyway, I figured out on my own. Come on, Kim. Stuff. On my own, I figured out if you flip your hole punch over, you have these lines. These lines on it. So if you stuck your paper in so that those two lines gave you a right angle and you cut, you get nice little rounded corners. Yes, you were there when I did this one. And we did this one online and I wanted to do a bunch more. So I figured out that if you use your larger hole punch, this is a 5/8 inch, and you line this line up with the side and that line up with the top for a right angle, it gives you a lovely edge. So I figured something out. Anyway, sorry, Tori. I have a lot of squirrels in my life, and they go this way and they go that way. And so I used a paint chip because I have a gazillion of them, and I'm trying to use them up. So on the paint chip, I glued down. I've got old music paper, so I glued music paper down as the base on this one. This one is an old woodworking tutorial book that I've got, so I glued that down. And then I have this incredible tissue paper. Let's hold it right side up. It's incredible tissue paper with all this advertising on it. So I cut it up, bits of the advertising, and that's what, this stuff is the advertising. Then I was looking for numbers because tickets have numbers all over them. And I watched Kerry Griffiths and he was showing where to find numbers. So I found numbers by, these are from a Sudoku book. I chopped up some of the puzzles on Sudoku where there was more than one number together, right? So like 39, I've got 49, 83. Sometimes you get lucky and get three numbers in a row. So I just cut them out and outlined them with a marker, glued them down, bit of washi tape, and then just a little cluster with some buttons and threads and a handmade flower. Some stamps. I've only got really huge number stamps, so I put one of those on each of them. But then I was, just chopping little numbers out of books and stuff just to add more numbers to it. And so that's what these are. So those I'm going to be using as tucks and pockets in a journal. My glue is not sticking for my buttons. I keep finding buttons, this one, on the desk. Now you'll keep your used Sudoku books. Yeah, definitely. So I've got a whole bunch of stuff cut up. And then I'm thinking, even in the squares, like the blank squares, there's 3 in a row. Why can't I handwrite numbers in there? I also have some ledger paper that's blank. So I'm going to coffee dye it, and then I'm going to take a fountain pen and fill in numbers in that. Glue dots for my buttons. That might work. I don't often use buttons. Kellyanne says her glue stick works. I'm going to try it. Oh, no, I'm not. That's way far under the desk, and I can't see it. I need a new button. So anyway, I'm going to use those as tucks. And if the buttons don't stay on, I just may end up saying to heck with you, pulling them all off and putting some of, like, I don't understand why these kinds of things stick down and the buttons are not. I'm just using these Amazon basic glue sticks. Somebody had ranted and raved about how good they were. So I figured I would try them. And we'll see. And then I'll take this clothespin and I will pin it. That's why I had the clothespins here, so that I could stick them. I will try it. Try it. Anyway, like I say, if they don't stay, I'm going to pull them and put some blingy stuff on. On Tuesday, on my live, Tuesday afternoon, Paula and Anne asked if I could do some altered paper clips. So I've got a whole bunch of paper clip blanks ready to go for Tuesday. So that'll be whatever day that is in this 100-day of stuff. Oh, I know why they wanted to see altered paper clips, because I made these using up paint chips. I covered a paint chip with some gel print paper, put a glue stick in, and these are matchbook notepads. But I used construction paper. What? How did I make those blanks? I took, because of these paint chips, they have a flap, right? So I was using up these. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and so since I'm using up the paint chips, I made these little notepad things. And the reason that I used gel paper over the top is because these get really, really weak because they're perforated. So I took these off and folded it like this, like off center, stuck it through a little paper clip, and glued them down. So I've got all these blanks now that I can decorate with things like, where are they? I got lots of paper clips. So it's the basis for something like this. Or like this. Or like that. So I'm going to be doing paper clips on Tuesday. And these are hand painted faces done on little tag things. But I like having these kind of blanks because you can just build clusters up on them. Like I'll probably cut out a circle and put it over, and then decorate the circle. Of course, I'll have to do the back as well. But these are just the starting point, just the structure for them. If that makes sense. And these Tuesday what time? 12:45. Going live at 12:45. That's me. 12:45 Tuesdays and Fridays are my regular streaming times now. And then I'm doing the pop-ups like this one. So, yeah. It's always something new on my desk. The skeleton. Which skeleton? The face? These guys? These are hand painted because it's what I do. Okay, right now it is 6:50 here. I think you're an hour difference. Yes, the base is the skeleton. Yeah. How did I paint the strips? These ones? I don't know which strips you're talking about. These guys? Or are you talking about for these kinds of things? The ones for the fence posts. Oh, okay. I didn't paint these. These are brown paint chips that I ripped. But I do this out of like brown paper. If I have leftover paint, I scrape it onto paper. So on a piece like, I've got brown paper, believe me, somewhere. So then what I do is I tear it into strip kind of thing. I draw black marker lines on it. I take a fine pen or a marker and I go between the lines and I do more bark. I edge them in black marker. Do I have a lighter one that you could see better, maybe? I don't know. Can you see the little lines that I did in marker? They're just scribbles. I don't worry too much about what they look like. They're fence posts. They're wood. So, yeah, I just take brown paper. A lot of times you can get an ad in a magazine. Yeah, it's glossy paper, but whatever. You just rip them into strips. It doesn't matter if it's got text on it or whatever. Once you put these marks on and you make them into little fence posts, let me grab the flowers. Let me grab the flowers and I'll show you. Okay, so this one should be called Show and Tell with Kim. You could do that, Kel. Show and Tell with Kel. I like that idea. So then I have a little fence, and then I'll put like flowers and grasses and leaves. And it just makes a really nice little corner tuck or something. So somebody else had asked me what I was doing with, the post. So I've got birds sitting on the posts. All my stuff is hand cut, hand torn. I do use hole punches. I do have a die cutting system. I've got a Cricut, but when I'm doing my flowers and everything, it's all hand cut. So, yeah. And then, of course, with the brown papers, I also do my buildings. And then I make, I'll show you a building tuck. So I make buildings out of strips of brown paper, and then I glue them on a backing so that they're a little bit sturdier, because this is just this brown paper I've got on my desk. It's just roll. So then if I was gluing it into a book as a tuck, I would glue the top parts down for sure because they're wobbly, and then just an L shape so that you can tuck in. Nice. No, you have to use it. Oh, Kellyanne, they're wonderful. Think of the stencils you can cut. Sorry. So I've spent time making buildings. I've got, that was one of my projects. But I have to admit, I like doing these little bits as much as I like doing anything else. I think it's because they're done. When they're done, they're done. I don't have to do anything more to them. So I have fish and my Goonie birds and my dolls, and I just like, I don't know. I don't know why I like these kinds of bits. I also painted a brick colored one. Oh, thank you, Kellyanne. Maybe I'll do that on one of the lives too, is show how to paint those roses. They're really fast. I made bricks, so I want to make some tags that look like a house with stucco, but having bricks poking through. So I'll be tearing those up for that. I just have to do. I have an absolute compulsion to create. And that's why I end up with all these Kimbits. Lots of stuff. I don't know if I showed you guys my ladies, my dolls, that I have no idea what to do with. I made a wonderful bunch of ladies. So maybe I'll do a tutorial on these beauties too. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. Yeah, I'm working on the scavenger hunt too. I need to sell my Kimbits and packages. I could sell my Kimbits and packages. What I like doing is just Happy Meal. I love sending out Happy Meal. And as for journals, I end up giving my journals away. I just did one for our local thrift store. All their funds stay in our community. So I did a journal for them for a fundraiser. And right now I'm working on 2 going to Defy. And I am working on Janet's scavenger hunt. I've got that in journal form. I guess maybe I can work on that today too a little bit. Don't have too much. Don't know what I've got left to do on it. This is my one that I'm doing for the scavenger hunt. So again, it was all envelopes. I'll think about it, Kellyanne. The thing is that because I make such strange stuff, like one of my absolutely favorite things to make, and I want to do a book out of them. I'm thinking of doing a kids' alphabet book, actually. is my Goonie birds. But every one is different. All right. Normally my scavenger hunt book would be complete by now too, but I haven't this year. But I do these crazy Goonie birds. And they're all different. They all have character. So, I don't know. This one's one of my favorites. She's got bows in her tail and hair. So, this, I make this stuff. The Goonie birds, I've been making for a few years. I had an order for 2 journals with Goonie birds, so I did Goonie bird journals. I have 2 cat journals underway. I've got a snowman journal that needs to be finished. I have a tip in. I can show you a tip in. A tip in is I've got my men dolls. This is a tip in. So you can take a piece of paper and it tips in. So I used an envelope because I had to use an envelope, and it's between 2 bits of paper, and it tips in. Do you consider this a tip in, Kellyanne? I think so. I used one of my paper feathers as the feather. My John mushrooms. This is another tip in. It's a page you add. This one's washi tape down. You add and tip. Yeah, that's a great way. That's a great way to learn as you go. This one is, like I say, it was in another tip in because I have to do 900 things. This is also my page of white. I folded it origami style so that you can unfold it and it's a full piece of paper. But yeah. And then this one I did so that it closes this way. But I think with look, I've got modeling paste on that. Oh, texture paste. I did it so that I could tie it this way, but I don't think these poor little labels, tag things are going to be big enough now. You're welcome. So I'm still working on that. I've got a few more to go. Wow, ladies, it's been 2 hours and 19 minutes since I've been on. That's a long stream. I don't mind. I love doing show and tell. My birds are fun. Like I say, I'm hoping I have an idea to do a kid's book using those birds as the characters. I just have to play. So, as I say, day 4, I'm just going to do some strings for wrapping things up with. I'll add some beads to some and do that. And I am going to call this a wrap. You have to learn how to let yourself play. I was teaching a course called Meet Your Creativity, and I had a few teachers in the course who didn't give themselves permission to play or permission to be wrong. It was really, really hard for them to wrap their head around creating just for play. So I'll suggest two of the projects that I did, three of the projects that I did with them, just to get them really out of their box. One was I I gave them a time limit and I said, write down everything you know about mashed potatoes. That's one of the easiest. Everybody knows something about mashed potatoes. So you just write down everything you know about mashed potatoes, and then you work and you cover up that page. It's getting it is only paper. You then you cover up the page with your collage, whatever. It just gives you a starting point, and it makes the paper not blank, because blank pages are terrifying to a lot of people. The other thing I did was I ripped out a paragraph from books. Everybody got a different paragraph. It was just one paragraph. It could have been 2 lines in the paragraph, but then they had that, and then they had to write a following paragraph to go with whatever that was from that paragraph. Some of them were from technical books. Some of them were from romance novels, whatever I had. I just had a stack of them and I just handed them out and everybody did that. The other thing is think up and create an ad to use to have a mosquito for a pet. You know, like the pros of having a mosquito as a pet. That was always a fun one. And it's just getting your head into it's getting your head into a creative frame of mind, um, and that way of thinking, right? That I never looked at anything they wrote unless they brought it to me and they were laughing because they went way off the wall, little crude, whatever but I never looked at anything they wrote. It was just up to them. Just write and like stream of consciousness kind of thing. And that way you've also got that background text behind, and sometimes it shows through on your work. And people will go, white and creamy, if you're talking about mashed potatoes, right? And they'll go, white and creamy. Like, it just makes, yeah, like it fun things, right? You have to have fun. And when you're off the wall like that, it gives you permission to be silly, right? So it puts you in a totally different frame of mind for creating. When you take art in school, like some of the kids that I worked with, the post grads, the ones with varying abilities, I did an art therapy program with them, and they thanked me because they didn't have to follow a certain curriculum. I would give them stuff and say, okay, today we are painting with string. And I would give them string and I would give them paints and give them a piece of paper. I've got one here somewhere, right here, because I've just, and I ended up with all of them. I said, today we're painting with string. And I didn't care how they did it, whatever. That was the only rule. So they came up with some really incredible pieces I'm now using as backgrounds. You know, you just have to. Yes, Kellyanne, exactly. I also did that one with the people with varying abilities, right? And I had one young woman whose parents had a greenhouse and a market garden. She went all the way back to planting the potatoes before, making the mashed potatoes. She planted them. So everybody's going to have a different take on it. That's why I didn't bother looking at anybody's, because a man definitely is just going to say good for holding gravy kind of thing. Whereas women who cook them know a little bit more. And in that young woman's case, you have a project to do, just sit and make what, yeah, that's, it takes a while to just create stream of consciousness. As you can see, my desk is like this. My desk is always like this because, like, when we were doing that ticket, that ticket, that very first one that we did, I was asking the ladies, okay, what should I do next? Like, and so they were throwing ideas, great ideas. So I just followed along with their take on it, and it worked out marvelously. Except I still am not a big fan of the corners. The other thing you could do, Tori, is make yourself some prompt cards. I have prompt cards. Sometimes we play with prompts here. A good person to watch is Create with Becca. She usually does prompt stream Monday mornings after Janet Nash is on. Janet also does prompts. But if you do, like, my prompt cards are numbered 1 to 10. I'll roll a dice. So if it rolls a 5, I start with crayon. So I have to do something crayon. Nice, Kellyanne. So I have to start with crayon, and then I have to go all the way around. Crayon, then ink, then spatter, then red, then dangle, then stamp. Dangle in the middle of your work is you have to work around. There you go, Tori. Prompt along on Tuesday night at 7. They're fun, and they help do the stream of consciousness. Like, just do it. Just do it. It's teaches you to use the different things that you have, and sometimes it looks like a mess, but you know what? It's the process. The process is as important as anything, just doing it. Anyway, I was going to sign off a little while ago. This is called a Polton goodbye. We're notorious for talking when we're supposed to be saying goodbye and end up talking for another half an hour or so. This time, I'm definitely going to say goodbye. I smell that my husband has now put the coffee on, so that's a wonderful thing. And thanks for being here. Love you all. And if I don't do another pop up, yeah, exactly. If I don't do another pop up before Tuesday, I hope to see you through Tuesday. If not, have a great weekend. Take care, everyone. Thanks for coming. Bye.